Good day and welcome to Etiquette Conversations with EFI and Shirley, where we redefine modern etiquette one conversation at a time. Today, I am your host, and you remember my name is EFI, and with me is.
Shirley Shalaby.
And today we are going to be speaking to you about the second part of effective workplace communication. And like we said earlier, whether you are leading a multinational corporation, whether you're working in a small team, whether you're running your own business, communication is the invisible thread that holds all together. So grab a notebook and just settle in. This is going to be rich, it's going to be practical, and it's going to be transformative. And we're going to be talking about communication from different aspects. And at this point, I'll invite Shirley to speak. But before she comes, I want to say we must understand what the foundations of communication are. And we have to begin with the basics. Remember, communication is not just about talking or emailing, it is the exchange of meaning. Remember, it is the exchange of meaning, the transfer of ideas, the transfer of feelings or information from one person to another in a way that it is clearly understood by the other person. In the workplace, communication is the fuel that powers collaboration. It empowers productivity, it empowers culture. It's also the main factor. It is the main factor in employee engagement and morale. It is the main factor that you need in conflict resolution. It is the main factor you need in performance and productivity. It is the main factor you need for innovation and change. So, poor communication, on the other hand, would lead to misunderstandings. It will reduce and lower morale. It will bring missed deadlines. It will bring workplace conflict. And ultimately, it will bring failure. So, I welcome Shirley at this time to talk to us about communication. Welcome, Shirley.
Hi, hi, Effie, and hello, everyone. Yes, indeed, this is our second episode about communication in the workplace or step etiquette in the workplace. So, ease can be at ease. At ease, you communicate very well, and when you are at ease, you give the impression that you are very competent. Being at ease, how to reach that. I'll just make a briefing about episode. We talked about the image. I mean, you walk into the boardroom of a meeting and then you are wearing the right attire. So suddenly you feel comfortable. You feel as if you represent the brand of your company. Your suit is not too tight. Your trousers are not too short. You realize that you're wearing the right shirt, not half a sleeve shirt on a jacket. And for the girls, if she's wearing the right thing, it is indeed the right step with the proper grooming. It is a good start. Hence, the feeling of self confidence. Communication with self confidence equals success. So, how do you reach that self confidence at work? Is when you know how to behave, when you know what is your next move. And this does not come easy. It comes with studying, with reading, with documenting, with working on one's cognitive. If I'm meeting foreign people coming from another country, I need to have knowledge about their branch and about their work and about their customs, everything. So if you are prepared before a meeting, if you read the agenda before a meeting, if you write notes before a meeting and you are prepared with your points, definitely you have confidence and you are willing to adjust according to the situation and to adapt to any situation, and you're ready to communicate with any situation or through any situation. Adjusting and adapting is a kind of emotional or cultural intelligence. I call it professional intelligence. Adjusting to the new post, adjusting to the new environment. But that comes with a long road of self confidence and preparation. So, therefore, you adjust your behavior, you adjust your language, and so on. Now, back to the communication as being very, very important, because communication is in every industry. So, communication, we know there is the big portion of it, which is the nonverbal, which is again your image, and as I always call it, louder than words. And this is a reflection of your self confidence. When you are self confident, right away your posture is better, your shoulders are pushed behind, your eye contact is comfortable and is not invasive, and it's reflected on your voice. It's You have a voice that has material to talk about. You have a voice that does not go to abbreviations and to company jargon or cliches. No, you have a language to offer because you've read a lot and because you've worked a lot, and it's been reflected on your behavior. So, my point, you need to work on yourself. You need to work on how you want to reach the the top the top position that you have in mind. Voice, again, you can be put in many situations. I mean, arguing, avoid the arguing. Uh, uh, Avoid arguing. If someone is starting to argue, it's better to stop and not to argue back. Better to mirror the words. He tells you, but your product is very expensive. You just expensive. You make sure he repeats the word one more time, and you talk less, and you listen, and you articulate well. Talking in cadence is the best thing. Like, talk, you give a chance to others, and you talk again. It reminds me of Arthur Martin Luther King. Like, he always said, "I have a vision," and then he watches for the reaction. Um, uh, I have a dream. No, he would say, "I have a dream," and then he sees the reaction, and then he would talk about his vision, and that was in the 60s in America. So, talking and selecting. Now, let me move to selecting the words. There are words that we hear by everybody and we don't like anymore. Like, if you say, let me find out, is better than I don't know. I'm sorry, I don't have this information. But let me find out and I'll be happy to get back to you. This is a better way of presenting a sentence. If you starting a dialogue with someone who seems very busy, you don't say, sorry, am I bothering you? You could say, could you spare a moment, please? Can I borrow you for a minute? Like selecting words. In, don't say hurry up. You could say don't miss out. For I've prepared a few sentences that I love. Don't counted. Oh my God, I don't like that. But you could say exclusive rates. We have very selective and very exclusive rates. Um, Always say my pleasure. It's even better than you are welcome. So the selection of words gives you confidence, gives you more confidence than you think. And again, as you said, it takes two to tango. So if you open a verbal dialogue with someone with all these words and you give him a chance to talk, he could be less aggressive. Uh,
Right.
exactly. If you make a presentation, for instance, and you're getting ready for it and you're prepared, my suggestion, start a presentation with a question. If you have a question, you engage everybody with you. So there are techniques to communicate better on a certain level of high level of dialogue.
Hmm.
What else did you want to talk about?
I think I want to speak more about verbal communication in the workplace, the key types of communication, especially in the workplace. I think I would break it down into six core areas, all of which must be understood and mastered for effective communication in the workplace. This includes every spoken interaction during meetings, during phone calls, during presentations, and during one on ones. I'll start with verbal. It includes spoken interaction, meetings, phone calls, presentations. That's for verbal. Now, the key points in every verbal communication would be that you should speak clearly and at a measured pace.
Articulate.
Speak clearly and at a measured pace. You want to tailor also your language to your audience. Tailor your language to your audience, be concise, but be complete. You want to also avoid rambling. That's what I mean by being concise. Instead of beating about the bush, people are busy. So when you communicate in the workplace verbally, try to be concise, avoid rumbling, but be complete in what you want to say. You could even take time to rehearse what you want to say so that you are able to put it into context that in terms of completeness. Now, as much as you speak, try to listen. Active listening builds trust. You're going to your boss to discuss something. You want to listen to his silences as well because people do not listen, they just want to speak. And you want to use your tone strategically. You don't want to sound aggressive, you don't want to sound disinterested or uncertain. People can read meanings into your voice. For us, I think that we're able to quickly know when someone is disinterested. Being a master at communication, I can quickly decipher if someone is not interested just by hello,
Oof, yeah.
just just by the tone of the voice. I can say, "Oh, what's wrong?" That would be the next question. So, in terms of non-verbal, surely you know that 80% of our communication is non-verbal.
Yeah.
And this includes body language, it includes our facial expressions, our gestures, our eye contact, our posture, even our silence. They are
Yeah.
non-verbal. So the workplace tips that I would suggest for non-verbal communication is maintain a good posture. You talked about that. You really hinged on appearing confident. You also know when to smile when it's appropriate. Smiling is disarming and it's encouraging. Every time you smile, and every time you smile, you disarm the other person, and then it encourages the person. You're saying, "Come, I'm willing to accept you." And then something that I think that our audience should avoid is avoid crossing your arms. It may seem defensive. When you cross your arms, it's like saying, "I don't want to listen to you." While sometimes crossing of arms in advanced body language or in advanced communication may be, may be a good posture. But in basic body language, crossing of arms may seem defensive. So those are things you want to avoid. And then when communicating, nonverbal communication, you also need eye contact, but in a way that does not make the other person feel intimidating. Now, for eye contact, remember when we talked about cross cultural intelligence, we talked about low context countries, high context countries. So, all of this body language tips. Remember, it's situational and it's cultural. Once you're culturally sensitive, I'll still refer our audience back to those episodes. Once you're culturally sensitive, you have to put it in context and know when to use your eye contact. If you're dealing with low countries in low context areas, remember that you have to use proper eye contact. And I'll quickly run into written communication. Um, in today's workplace, most communication is written. There are emails, there are reports, there are memos, there are proposal, and now WhatsApp messages. Most companies use WhatsApp messages. So, what are the best practices again? I would say just be clear, be structured, and be purposeful. I'll say you want to also use proper grammar and punctuation. And when I want to talk about proper grammar, if you are coming from countries in the in the UK and in Europe, know that the spellings are different, the pronunciations are also different
Mhm.
than people from the United States. In the United States, T will be D. And then, for instance, honor, which is spelled as Honor, and R. In United States grammar, the U will be absent. So you want to remember that I'm communicating in US style, I'm communicating in UK style. These are you, and you want to also use proper punctuation. Then you ask yourself, this memo that I'm sending, or this report that I'm sending, this email I'm sending, where is this person located? What is proper grammar and what is proper punctuation, especially in formal settings? Secondly, or thirdly, I want to say that another tip that our audience should know is you want to be aware of your tone in writing. Punctuation and word choice can drastically alter meaning when you're writing reports, when you're writing emails. When writing, also avoid emotional communication.
Oh, yeah.
Review it before sending. Just before you hit the send button, please review it. And also consider the reader's context. Also consider the reader's context. At this point, I'll also invite Shirley to speak to us maybe about virtual meetings, what we should do, especially now that we're having video conferencing, internal passing of messages like Zoom. What should the etiquette be, Shirley?
Of course, we're in the middle of,
Hello, Shirley.
we live in a world of globalization.
Hello, Shirley.
Can you hear
I
me?
think she'll come back to us. But I want to now speak about the digital etiquette. It includes being punctual for virtual meetings. We told you that we're going to be here at 8, and by 8 we were here. So be punctual. It's part of digital etiquette. Hello, Shirley.
Hi, am I back?
Hello, Shirley. So another thing is when you are in a digital meeting, try to use professional backgrounds or use neutral settings. Next is you want to ensure proper lighting and camera placement so that you can be properly seen. Also, you have to mute yourself when you are not speaking. That's the etiquette for digital communication. And then you want to dress appropriately, even when you are at home and you are having a virtual meeting. Dress appropriately. You know the purpose for the meeting, so dress appropriately. Acknowledge messages even with a simple noted or an emoji if appropriate. Now you know where you want to use emojis. You don't use emojis with every class of person you find or you meet. Some relationships, remember, some relationships are professional. So you want to avoid using emojis with them. If it's a formal relationship, you want to avoid emojis. If it's a semi formal relationship, then you want to choose if it's okay with a person. If the relationship is semi formal, I would always say go one step further and use a formal communication style with a person. Now, I want to go on and talk about internal communication. We will wait for Shirley. When she comes, she'll fill in her place. This is for internal interpersonal communication. This is very, and it is everyday interaction. It is about communicating, delegating, collaborating, and giving feedback. It's about motivating, it's about mentoring. In interpersonal communication, the things that you want to note are emotional intelligence. You have to learn emotional intelligence to be able to have interpersonal communication in the office. You also want to communicate with empathy. It is very important. You want to communicate with empathy. You want to communicate. You want to be open to feedback during interpersonal communication. Feedback is very important. You also want to respect personal boundaries. Try not to go into people's personal lives. Stay professional in interpersonal communication and be culturally aware. Again, I refer you to our two episodes on cultural sensitivity. That was so rich. That was so rich. Be culturally aware, be emotionally intelligent, be express your empathy. Hey, Shelley is back. Be open to
Hi.
feedback and also respect personal boundaries. Interpersonal skills are what builds strong teams and loyal colleagues. These colleagues that you meet, you never know if you're going to meet them again in life. So now that Shirley is back, I'm just going to hand over the cross-cultural and inclusive communication bit to her. Hello, Shirley. Welcome. Could you talk to us in
Yeah,
workplaces? How can we be culturally
yes,
sensitive?
indeed.
How can we be generational and gender differences and how important they are in workplace
Yeah,
communication? Welcome, Shirley.
of course, cultural. Hi. Of course, this also can affect our behavior. It would be a behavioral intelligence. It's not just cultural
Mm,
intelligence, it's behavioral intelligence.
wow.
So it comes with being
Mm,
documented. Honestly, read, and be on top of the situation, have knowledge what's going to happen, have knowledge about the other nationality that you'll be in a small, especially if it's a meeting through Zoom and you have people from the Far East and some others from Europe and so on. So you have to adapt to all that. And this is, it becomes like a piece of cake with time. But it needs preparation and documentation. Um,
mm,
uh, I mean, if it's a face to face, the body language makes a difference. Some people do believe in having a space and between each other. Some people come very close while they're talking. Honestly, being documented, being prepared, and this is what I call a global experience of behavioral experience.
wow. Thank you.
Well, communication is in everything. If we get into also table manners, I mean, people do those power lunches, and then there are difference of behavior. You got to consider all that, and you have to be ready to face a difference of behavior of handling food, for instance, between and other. The globe is so small, and one is exposed to that all the time.
Wow, thank you so much, Shirley. I like the way, and
It's a
I
lovely
like the way you
subject.
always bring the global mindset into our discussion because I mean the world has gone global, isn't it? So we're going to next talk about the key skills for effective communication. There are key skills that you must have. And
Mhm.
one, surely you will agree with me.
What is that key skill?
Yes. In your view, is active listening a key skill for effective communication? Yes,
Absolutely. Active listening
I
is
thought so
friendship.
as well. Not,
Active listening
yes,
is
not
friendship.
just hearing,
You can you can tell right
Hmm.
away.
Not just hearing. Yes,
Listen to me, not just hear me. Listen to me
right,
actively. Listen to me and then stomach everything you've heard and then
right.
comment on it and ask a questions. Of course, we know about the closed questions and the open questions. It's very nice to make other people talk. I mean, you start by a closed question, so the other, so I would answer yes or
Mm.
no, and then you move to an open question. All right, so tell me about it. That is indeed a good listening.
Now,
So give a chance to others to
I want
talk.
to say that this, in my view, one of the things, the way, based on what you said, the way that I think that I can listen effectively and ask questions, if I have listened effectively and I ponder over what you have said, which means that there must be intentionality. For me to actively listen, I must be intentional when having a conversation. I must say, I'm not just going to hear, but I'm going to try to understand. And when I have doubts, I'm going to ask questions so that I understand properly. I want to say another key, in my view, is clarity and
Mhm.
conciseness. We talked about it before. Get to the point without losing depth. You must be confident. You want to project belief in the message you're trying to pass without arrogance. There's a difference between being confident and being arrogant. Also, you want to be empathic. Tune into how others feel. Be open-minded when questions are asked. When you have listened, if the other person has listened actively and ask you questions. Be open minded to explain or clarify your perspective. Be open minded to receive feedback and also be adaptable. And when you're adaptable, it really helps workplace communication. Surely, I know you're a master at this, and I want to ask you now, how do we deal with difficult conversations and conflict resolution in workplace communication?
If there are difficult conversation, but before that, I just would like to add the art of listening. I totally personally appreciate it when I'm talking to someone and then he would say, do you mind if I take down some notes? No, I don't mind at all. On the contrary, this is really a compliment to me. Like he's listening and he would like to write down some notes so he can remember to ask questions, pertinent questions. Conflicts is when people disagree. As soon as you say you are wrong yourself. Avoiding conflicts is the best
Hmm.
thing. Disagreeing with the people is wrong. I mean, and as you said earlier, make short sentences. I always love to tell my students, keep it kiss, keep it short and sweet. Sentences have to be short and giving knowledge one after the other. But long sentences would lose people. And arguments is this is a no-no in a dignified corporate
Yeah.
ambiance. No arguments should go later, but never within a meeting. And a proper person should avoid
Hmm.
arguments. period.
So
It's
what I
mirroring,
think,
and make sure he repeats.
go
Yeah,
on.
go ahead.
So
No, but
what I,
I mean, in case of conflicts,
yes, I'm listening.
your turn.
Okay. So
No, no, it's your turn. Go
for
ahead.
workplace, to in the way I see it is that, and the etiquette strategies that I would apply in avoiding conflict and disagreements in workplaces, I'll put my facts and my feelings together. I want to know how I feel about this. Am I highly emotional about this or am not? Am I being objective about this or not? I would now try to say, okay, in bringing out or in trying to resolve this conflict, I must be respectful or assertive. I'm sorry, I must be respectful about it, and I must be assertive about what I want to get out of it. I'll try not to interrupt when the other person is speaking and let others have their say in the discussion. I would also want to avoid statements like I and try not to be accusing.
Mm,
I will
mhm.
I would not let
You
it
talk on
fester.
behalf of your company.
Yes, I would address issues early before they escalate. And where possible, I'm going to do a follow up with written documentation if not needed. I want you to remember something: diplomacy doesn't mean weakness, it's strength under control. Diplomacy is not weakness, it's strength under control. And leadership plays a role in communication. Leaders would set the tone for communication culture in the office. Now, the thing a leader needs to ask himself in that is, am I transparent? Do they cascade information effectively? Do they encourage open door communication? And do they train their teams in communication protocols? So, what are the strategies they need to put in place? Model respectful language. Every leader should model respectful language. Every leader should communicate consistently. Every leader should use storytelling to inspire and to practice and encourage regular feedback loops. Now, Shirley, in closing, please tell us whatever you want to tell us about the tips, the general tips that we have not talked about for workplace communication. Go all out and tell our audience.
Before we close, I'd like to elaborate a little bit about
Right.
presentations. As I said, you start with a question, but storytelling, because you just said it now, storytelling is the thing. When you present an idea or you present a theory and you make it sound like a story, you're addressing emotions, and people like that. And this is success. Absolutely. And when you have a bit of a smile, because you're relating it to stories, to life, so the people will smile back. So that is pleasant. Communication and professionalism have to be pleasant, because this is your life. You spend a big portion of your life at work. So make it pleasant. And indeed, when you are confident and you have the know how, you are happy and you perfect it.
Hmm,
And you become very flexible, as you said. Flexibility is a strategy, of course.
right.
And next time we will talk about more small examples, hands-on examples in the looks of storytelling. And this is how our audience will like it better.
Okay, we'll start with storytelling. So remember, our audience, communication
Yeah.
is not just a skill, it's a reputation strategy. How you speak, how you write, how you listen,
Yes,
and
too.
how you respond shapes how others see you and how well your team performs. In every professional space, your communication should reflect your values, it should reflect your wisdom and your character. Thank you for joining Afi and Shirley on Etiquette Conversations with Afi and Shirley. If this episode resonates with you, please subscribe to our channel, share it with your team, leave a review, send questions, tell us topics you'd want us to talk about. We'd love to hear from you. Shirley wants to hear from you. And I love
Absolutely.
having her as my co host. I tell you, she's the best co host. And remember, we'd love to hear your feedbacks and workplace communications. Until next time, speak with clarity, listen
Stay
with
safe.
empathy, and lead with grace. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. Thank you. It sounds lovely.
Thank you, and bye for
Thank you.
now, Shirley. Bye to our audience. We'll see you next time.